little bit on what the borough is doing in response to some of the things that has been mentioned at the table this morning. And I made some notes, so pardon me if I use my paper. We're in the process of starting a business improvement district, including West Marshall Street and Main Street business districts. We just had our first meeting this week. We are working with a consultant called the Atlantic Group, who is facilitating the implementation of the business improvement district. And we've invited all of the businesses to attend, including the West Marshall Street Merchants Association. We're going to be getting together on a monthly basis to determine a plan for the improvement districts and make sure that things are implemented as they go along. We are in the process of looking for a new business coordinator. Our business coordinator left for another position, and we have RFPs out. Can we get another one? The business coordinator does things similar to a Main Street coordinator, and I've already been in discussion with our downtown business person right here at the table to follow up a little bit on that and look into the possibility of turning that position into a Main Street coordinator. I have been in the past trying to get our planning director to look more into this. With the previous administration, there were some concerns about that particular program. There's an Elm Street program. I don't know if anybody is familiar with the Elm Street program. This is a state program. We have an Elm Street here in Norristown, and we always have to in order to avoid confusion at the hall, we always call it the West Elm Street program, which is what's here, and the Elm Street program, which is the state program. We have made application for that program, and that involves a lot of neighborhood stakeholder support. We've mapped out the area, which is basically our weed and seed development area, and we have made application. There have been stakeholder meetings going on with residents in that area, so that's going along very nicely. As you know, the redevelopment area was mapped out about 5 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago. We got a developer in place for that. The uniform district overlay zoning was improved to allow various different developments to happen according to a concept plan. Brian O'Neill has taken over the PNC building and has almost finished that. It's maybe 85% leased at this point, and that's a very good start to this whole area, which is the redevelopment area. We have some Main Street enhancements that are going. That money is coming in to us slowly but surely. We have to make application to that, but Main Street enhancements, including the paving and lighting and sidewalks, and things that were similar to what was done here on West Marshall Street a number of years ago. Based on that redevelopment plan that was put in place about 5 years ago, there's a county seat economic revitalization committee that meets every month. I'm a member of that committee as I'm the chair of economic development for the borough. But that committee is in charge to put into place the things that were put on the table regarding the redevelopment that we want to have happen in this area. Some of the things that are coming out of that meeting are the Lafayette Street Enhancement Project, the garage at Main and Cherry Street, and connections with the septic garage that's going to be happening at the septic station on Lafayette Street, which is also going to be a bus terminal. This particular council has only been in place since July, but I think we've come a long way in looking at the budget and looking at the resources that we have available and looking at the contacts that we have with the governor's office and with our other state legislators. We have gone a long way since July in getting those things happening and starting to roll along. We are really the governor's model city. And I like to say that Governor Rendell has put emphasis on Norristown and is trying to use Norristown, I think, as a model for some of the other revitalizations of the boroughs in the rest of the state. It's very exciting. We have a person here, we have an office of the governor's home and revitalization committee right here in Norristown, and our own representative, Paula Rainey. Rainey. And she also attends the CERC meetings to be aware of what's going on and what redevelopment is happening. So in addition to that, we have strong connections with our state and congressional representatives. Connie Williams has some wonderful work for us. Representative Krahala has done great work for us. We're also in connection with Victor and Rafferty as well. As a matter of fact, I had a discussion with those regarding the state with those particular people via conference conference call the other day in regards to the state hospital. So a lot is going on. But this all takes money, and in getting grants and making these applications, those things move kind of slowly. So I just wanted to make mention that there is things going on. There are things going on in Norristown. All of this has really started going since the redevelopment plan that was started about 5 years ago. And our new council, or the council that took over in July, has really had a very short time with which to get the ball rolling on all of this. And once we get over our problems with the budget, it's all about balancing the budget. We don't want to tax our residents anymore. They're already too high taxed. We have to work out some of those issues, but we are very much aware of the necessity for public safety and improved quality of life here at the borough. So I just wanted to make mention and make a response to some of the things that were mentioned here at the table, that the borough is not sitting back looking out at what's going on with a disinterested eye. We're very interested and very connected. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Olivia. And Doris, couldn't miss your question.
Oh, yes. I just want to say, first of all, this is really, really nice. And I'm truly enjoying myself for being here. And I'm not a stranger in this building because my mother worked in this building when the welfare was here. I used to clean these offices as from coming after school, so I feel very much at home. And I just want to say everything is really, really nice, and you're doing a beautiful job. And as me being a resident on the East End, I want to see our East End come back too. Because, you know, I live on the East End, and I want to see things up, our main streets and all of that. And one thing I think I heard you say, Olivia, I think the PNC building on Main Street, did you mention that? Well, you know, I was on that street, and I was looking at that building. And I was thinking about, you know, something dealing with Norristown. And I was looking through all the brochures. And that building is such a beautiful building. And I said that could be used for something like a historical building for things that have taken place here in Norristown, to have pictures and all sorts of things like that. And that's one thing that I was going to say today. If that building can be utilized for something like for history of Norristown and you know, Montgomery County, it would be really, really nice, because it's a beautiful building, because a lot of our buildings are being chopped up, tore up, and should not be that way. I think every area of our town should look nice, because we're going to travel from street to street, town to town. So all of us can get a cut and get a bite into everything. So if I can see Main Street come back to what Main Street used to be, it would be a blessing to the entire community. West End, this has always been a nice end, because like I said, I've been on this end many times, worked up here on this end, so it's always has been a nice end. In the East End, it was always nice. And I'm used to nice things, and I don't want to get into a habit of having bad things, so I like nice things. So that building, though, I really would like to see something worthwhile be put in there. Okay?
Can I just do a follow-up comment on that? Because I think what's really critical in the planning is when I came down before and saw West Marshall Street, and I've been downtown and I'm familiar with what's going to happen on Main Street. So many communities fail to interlink this stuff. Just like the state before over the last 30 years would fund independent projects and think it's all going to happen, it didn't interrelate in a way that it was functional. So when I drove in today, I see all the advertising along the railroads, all those signs, okay? That doesn't impress me as a newcomer, okay? What I like to see is a beautiful sign, let people know West Marshall Street is here. And maybe it's a rendering of the historic buildings that are restored and stuff, and you say, oh man, that's like a Georgetown, let's turn left at the light and go up to West Marshall Street. Not that you don't want to turn right and go down to Main Street too, but it isn't an advertising corridor between Main Street and West Marshall Street. So I'm not being critical of the borough, certainly. It's just an observation of somebody coming to town. But I think we have to be sure that the good things that are being done here in West Marshall Street and the good things that are proposed for Main Street, the overflow comes up here and vice versa, that it's all one community.
I want to see vice versa of one community, because see, I said I live on the East End, so that's why I'm saying what I'm saying. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Doris.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Jerry. One more day.
I'm finished now.
Okay, Hank.
Go ahead. Did you say? Thank you. My question basically is directed to Jerry. And at this point in time, I want to acknowledge council. We're venturing into something new here. Under the new ordinance 0405, we've accepted the state mandated code, and we've created a local code 0415. We, as the chairman of the Code Review Board, have sat for the past year and developed some of the new codes, or have updated some of the old codes for the current existing structures. Jerry, I'd be very interested in getting a copy of this housing review vitalization program that you're offering here. But my primary question is at this point in time, we have, with the Code Review Board, under the state mandate 0405, created an appeals board. And this appeals board currently takes an appeal from someone who is objecting to various inspections, so forth and so on. When there's an objection, the appeals board would then be the first level of the what am I trying to think of here? Legislative level would be your first step to the process. And what I'm trying to find out here is, can the local code supersede the state mandate by making various changes that in effect would change the state mandate of the International Property Code Maintenance Code?
Let me start by saying I don't know for sure. I'll check. I will get you an answer. But the one thing that people a lot of times didn't realize, the UCC, the Uniform Construction Code that the state enacted by enabling statute, is not a property maintenance code. So the point is, local municipalities that adopt the property maintenance code and don't do their own, but they're doing it by a book of reference, by a national code. That's what goes to the heart of your question, and I don't know the answer, but I will get an answer for you when I go back to Harrisburg and find out. Just for your information, originally there was some question as to how many municipalities in Pennsylvania would opt to enforce their own local housing and building codes, or enforce the state, building code. And they thought, L&I thought it might be as many as 1,600 might opt out, that L&I would have to inspect for. It's like I think it's 288, but it's 1/6 of what they anticipated. Now that might not mean much to anybody, but what it's saying is the fact that most municipalities, whether they do it through a third-party contractor, have decided to do their own inspections. On a negative side, one of the things that was brought to our attention is that when the state adopted the code, the inspection fee for new construction is considerably higher than it is, for rehab, is considerably higher than it is for new construction. And a lot of developers statewide have informed us that, that's really discouraging turning around this vacant space, because if the inspection fee is 5 or 6 times higher than what is for new construction, why get involved in rehab? And there's no reason nationally for it that we found. So it's an area that needs to be worked on. But again, with the idea, we're trying to facilitate working with developers in a cooperative way to keep costs down so it doesn't get passed on to the consumer, or in the terms of increased rentals or whatever, affordable housing. But we need to not have expenditures where we don't need them.
Thank you, sir.
Richard?
Well, this is more of a comment than a question. Some of these problems we mentioned, such as billboard, let's say, were caused by improper things in the past administration. But one of the very big issues, for the very reason you say, is the complexity of the building code and how you apply them to whole property. So we've discussed many times, Gary, this in itself could be a future major corridor. And all I will say, I'm aware of at least one property in this borough, home rule municipality, that has been condemned for almost 5 years, absolutely without any technical reason. I know this intimately. There's $500,000 of legitimate damages for it, and how we're going to solve that, I do not know. But when the code enforcement process is used to punish people for whatever reason that people in the borough hall didn't like, that is a very big and very major problem. Hopefully it will be a problem of the past that will somehow be resolved. But I think it should be a separate, as this gentleman said, a separate topic for of its own. So,
But by the way, I'd be happy to come down if it's helpful in a dialogue just on codes at some point in time.
Thank you.
didn't we agree to sort of put this on our agenda sometime?
For next-
We want to know what the borough actually adopted, waiting to see what actually happened.
I think the initiative will definitely take Jerry up on that offer.
I think, and it goes, I have to say this, again, just as this revitalization is a complicated issue. There are a lot of legal issues on properties, on right-of-ways, on code enforcement, the whole thing. But a lot of people don't understand all of that, and they think that, well, you know, again, it's just aesthetics, and you turn things around. So the important thing is, all of these things are important, but when you know what the problem is, then a municipality has to step up to the plate, council, a mayor, and say, you know what, we're going to correct what we can correct. If the state's the problem and it's a state enabling statute, let's go to the legislator and get it amended. But the point is, we have to deal with reality in what will make revitalization work and what we know will stop it dead in its tracks.
Okay, Joel?
No, just another question. And this regards to revitalization in the Norristown. I think one of the keys is to have
Need to speak up.
is to have competent, professional, non-corrupt management at the public sector. Now, there's nobody here from the planning or the administration here, but we really need, I think, this. Let me just ask the question, which perhaps it would be reflected in one of the council members, but what is the current status for the search, interviewing, and efforts towards hiring of a professionally qualified municipal manager? We don't have one now. And if we're going to follow through with any of the wonderful ideas that are being talked about here, we have to have this position filled. Can anybody tell me?
Joel, I'm not sure if that's...
Get for revitalization. We have to have it. If you don't want to answer, don't.
We do have a search on it.
What's the status?
We have interviewed candidates in the last month, so we haven't found one that we felt was suitable. Keystone Municipal Services, I think they're called, we've hired them as consultants to help us with the search process.
They're a professional company that helps municipalities that are in various changes of flow.
So we're waiting to see if good candidates
Oh, perfect.
come forward. We've found people with good technical skills as managers and not people skills. And we found just the opposite. And they're both equally important. We got to work with people and also the know-how and experience that run a town. We are working.
Okay, thanks.
Maddie, did I see your hand up earlier? You want to ask a question?
Yeah, I have,
Please speak up.
okay. Well, I wanted to ask you,
You can't speak up.
oh, you still can't hear me?
Yeah, maybe if you stand up.
What innovative ways does the police use to gain effectiveness in the redeveloped areas that are on the edge of undeveloped areas?
I don't have any problems. If you write it down, I can still hear you.
Oh, you still can't hear me?
Can't hear you.
Yeah, you got to really yell it out there.
Well, I'm asking this because, like, no matter what else is done, we need, like, safety. So, what innovative ways does the police use to gain effectiveness in redeveloped areas that are on the edge of undeveloped areas.
Okay, border areas where it's a good area versus a bad area. Simplify the question. Okay.
Well, we really don't handle that any other difference than we handle an area that hasn't been redeveloped or an area that hasn't been developed. We assign officers to that area, and we just do routine patrol. Normally, if we see, it's easy to tell when new people come in the area and they want to start their little businesses on corners. We can stop that before, in an area that's just starting to redevelop. If we can prevent them from establishing themselves on that corner, that's what we'll do, because once they get their roots in that corner, it's very difficult to get them away. So the best thing to do in what you're asking me is in a development that's in a new development is just to not let them get in there at all. So that's what you got to do to keep them out. Does that answer your question?
Sort of. I think what you're saying is that you would use prevention methods.
Use tactics not to let them establish their little businesses there on the corner or whatever type of crime you're talking about. You have to just prevent them from coming in at all, from spreading their businesses.
Hey, Red, did I see your hand up earlier?
Yeah, I do have a question. I have so many questions, I don't know where to start.
Take your best shot.
Let me just start with my name is Rad Shahid. I'm a citizen in Norristown, and I work in real estate. I want to give a compliment to Mr. Stump. Finally, somebody just starting with the most important things. I know me and Dave and a couple of other investors always said it's all about economics. Lifestyle, economics, and it just trickles down. You bring money, you bring businesses, that's what it's all about. The question is, you go to the board, or you're running around, you want to get something done. Mr. Stump mentioned the urgency of time. You got 30 days. You run into somebody who tells you, well, just go home, we're going to send you a letter. Come back in 30 days. I don't know who to address the question to, but is anything being done about this? Is there, I guess, what's the word? Is there...
Streamline.
When you hold somebody accountable, is there accountability? I mean,
I
if somebody is not doing their job, in my knowledge, they get fired. They don't stay there.
No,
because
I would just like to convey to you some of the things that I've seen with the new businesses. The internet cafe that I spoke of, that, you know, I'm real excited about getting this in. The gentleman had gone out, he procured all of his hardware, put his backbone in to do this effort. And he went to the planning board, and first of all, you get into the borough, it's intimidating, big hallways. There's not really a receptionist in one area giving you direction where to go. So in most cases, you pop your head in whatever office you can and you ask where to go for a certain thing. And most times, they'll point you in the right direction to get planning. The problem that this gentleman had is he went to planning, and I know that there's zoning maps that you just open to, and if the question is, I want to start a particular business, one would think that anyone in zoning could open that map and say, yeah, you're in that area, no problem, move to code enforcement or building inspections, and you can set up your use and occupancy. In this particular case, and I don't believe it's isolated, it took the gentleman 3.5 weeks to get a response from planning, and he had to fill out an application, okay? His response declined his application, saying that it was not an area that was zoned for that type of business. The guy came to me almost in tears. He'd already paid me his deposit. As Mr. Stump said, the time's clicking for him. Each day he's paying money on this endeavor. He's got his hardware at home. I mean, this guy doesn't know what to do. So he comes to my office and he's like, Dave, can you help me out here? So I called down to planning right away and I said, surely there must be some confusion because it's my building and I know it's zoned for exactly what you're trying to do. So I set up a meeting with him and Jay Masonia, and basically her answer was whoever handled it was gone on vacation and probably overlooked something. I don't think that's acceptable, I really don't. I think that's a pitiful excuse. However, he did get passed through then. She said, yeah, no problem. She came up with him. But the guy still lost 3.5 weeks, okay, of time that he could have been up and going. He then had to go to building inspections, who was on vacation at the time, and had to wait maybe another 3 months to have an inspection performed. I do not consider that being accommodating in the lease. And, I know Olivia came back and responded very well, and I know I was probably a little aggressive in my earlier spiel. I do believe there's people that are trying to make things happen, but I would like council and administration to understand day-to-day operations and how it is not streamlined, how these people can go somewhere else. I'm not a super huge developer, but I think I'm doing some things for Norristown, and I'm very disenchanted with Norristown. And I try to get other developers here. I constantly play cheerleaders. I'm constantly going to the press with good things. But I'm human too, and I'm starting to, wear it down. So what I'm asking is there something that you guys can do to really look into this, to try to streamline this process? And an attitude. I mean, we've had a problem, Hank was there with me, where we were getting thrown out of the planning department because they didn't like what we had to say.
Let me just mention. You're right. Council people, you're going through a list of firing people. There's a guy down there that should be fired, okay? The attitude. I go to different, and I've been around, 37 years in law enforcement, a professional boxer, referee. I've been around a little bit. And I never had anybody talk to me, and I'm a former professional boxer, I teach boxing. I think I can handle my dukes. I'm 81, but I still can handle my dukes. And down there to talk to the zoning, and this is, a record right there. You were there, right? Down there to see if we could brighter lights. Thieves, troublemakers, they hate light, okay? So we want brighter lights along here, okay? And a little bit about quality of life. This so-called coordinator stands there and is looking, you go to other township and they'll say, what can I do to help you? You go to the counter there, what do you want? Well, what is this? It's bad news. Standing there and I said, well, how long do you think it'll take to get brighter lights? Okay? I said, well, I have to go to the engineer. Okay, well, okay. Well, how long is that? How long has it been the engineer, right? 3-4 weeks, maybe a month. And still no brighter lights. He sits back and he says, look here. He says, if you give me a hard time, I'll throw you out of my office. I'm in his office. I look, I could have grabbed him, but you don't. I'm a cool guy. He should have got one of Lavanza. Should have got one. But he's still down there, okay? And I know my neighbor wanted something done. He had to get a paper, and he said, well, I have to wait a week before you get it. Okay. He said, well, look, you have to have the people. Let me tell you, being a former boxer, I like to stay on my feet.
Should I cover up that?
Let me tell you, Norristown at this point, we're the largest bar in the world. I have a TV show, okay, and I interview different people. I interviewed the Rock and also the Egyptian that opened a restaurant on Johnson Highway. I say Egyptian because he's a nice guy. He owns a restaurant in Trooper. He owns one in Woodpain, and he owns one in 99. So on my show, I asked him, here talking about his redevelopment and all, I said to the restaurant owner, just he knocked down the Pizza Hut and built a new building in Norristown. At this time, when everybody says, like that one comedian said, you ever hear of Norristown? He said, you can travel a circumference of 7 miles and never leave the scene of the crime. That's the kind of reputation we have. So I said to him, and on tape, and I said, why did you invest in Norristown? Well, Stonado, you know what I mean? In Italian, Stonado means like, but he says, no, you know why, Cisco? He says, because I have a restaurant in Trooper, and I have one in Whitbank. And all the people that come in my restaurant, I say, where are you from? He says, I'm from Norristown. Guy from Trooper, I'm from Norristown. Well, he says, why do I open a restaurant in Norristown? And that's why you open a restaurant in Norristown. Now, we have the Cultural Center down there on the Couch Street. Beautiful place, Elephant Man, Man of La Mancha, You know what? 90% of the people go there come in from Philadelphia. And Norristown here, we're not supporting our own movement. We have a Columbus monument. We have a celebration on Columbus Day. We have an organization here. Instead of coming here and celebrating the Norristown and being proud of our community, they're down in Philadelphia watching all them Stonadis down in Philadelphia. Okay? So what I'm saying, we have to be proud. Norristown right now is a hug without a squeeze. And guys like you that come in here, and you didn't mention anything about police. You didn't say anything. You're talking about the people getting developing whatever you have to do. It's not a police problem, our problem. Is that right? And you're giving us direction on what to do here. And so all we're doing is trimming the branches and the leaves, and we're not getting to the root of it. And that's what I said. You've got to come around more often. Okay?
Okay, we do that.
Folks, we have to, we've been informed, our tape is running out now, so we can still hang around and do informal chat if you wish. Our hour and a half is now up. I want to thank everybody for coming. Hope to see everyone back again. I'm sure Dave and the shop owners would like to see you all back here again very soon. I'll see you at the 18th of December, Parenting Forum. Hopefully that'll be a nice little get-together for the children in Norristown. And we're going to be at the Human Services Building. I'm sorry?
Make sure people know it's a Human Services.
Human Services, everyone, 18th of December. Parenting Forum and Children's Christmas Party. So, again, thanks to all our panelists. Hopefully we're going to see some of our state representatives back here again. I know the initiative will be inviting you back again. And special thanks to all you coming here again today. And I'm sure the shop owners here will enjoy seeing your faces in the shops, see what they have here for you. Thank you all for coming.
Can I scoot a video?